All right, so these are the 4 stages towards a congressional internship. I personally went through each one of these stages, and I'm here to show you why this is going to be beneficial in your hunt towards congressional opportunities. Why should you listen to me? I myself landed a congressional internship 4 years ago when I was in college. I was a commuter student. I was somebody that didn't have the full means to enter DC. And I myself was able to land that opportunity, walk in the halls of Congress, complete my internship in the great land of DC. And now I work for my dream government agency, the Justice Department. And I'm here to show you the exact stages that every single person, every single student finds themselves in towards landing an internship on the Hill. Smiley face. So you may not be in the first stage, you may not be in the second stage, but I guarantee you that you are somewhere on this list, and I will showcase to you what all this means in a minute. Stay tuned, you don't want to miss at the end, because I'll explain what this bridge with the dollar signs means. Okay? So let's get into it. First things first, the very first thing that someone goes through when deciding whether or not they want to land a congressional internship is non-belief. Not everyone goes through this. Some people were affirmed earlier on in life that they're a very competent student, that they want to enter politics, that DC is where they want to end up, and they want to do it through the red carpet of opportunities, and it's doing an internship with a congressman, whether it's the U.S. House of Representatives or whether it's the U.S. Senate. But I myself, and probably you viewing this, as a minority student, as a commuter student in Miami, whatever city you're watching from, I had non-belief. I remember a couple weeks before I started university, I went to a federal conference that my university was hosting. I'm talking about every government agency under the sun was there, including the Justice Department, including the military, including the State Department, and a bunch of different agencies of the government that were there to recruit students, the Health Corps, and so many other ones. I personally was disinterested. I honestly didn't gravitate towards any government agency. I saw myself as a freshman just entering the university that was closest to my house, and then just seeing what opportunity would arise as I would go about the years. I was in what you would call the non-belief stage. And this manufactured itself, this started painting itself a little bit more vividly when I found out in that specific conference that my university had a DC office. I told myself, that's not for me. I sat at a table with a gentleman that worked for the university that helped students land internships in Washington, D.C. And I said, that's not for me. I was in such a big non-belief stage that I was like, that's not even a consideration for someone like me. I don't come from those means. I don't come from those backgrounds. That's too prestigious. That's too much for me. I was under that stage. I still landed the internship on the Hill. And I'm here to show you how you can get from this stage to that stage. But if you're somebody that doesn't know how to land internships, you're somebody that you find yourself here, you're breaking the self-belief, but now you're realizing, you know what? I'll apply. I'm going to tell you in a minute how I got from this stage to this stage. But if you find yourself in a position where you're like, I don't really know where I'm at, but I want to apply, I think this is worth giving my time towards at least submitting an application process, click the first link in the description. I'm building the biggest online community for students like you towards landing a congressional internship opportunity. And that is something that I'm going to help you to walk through each one of these stages, wherever you're at, whatever gap you're in, so that you can land this dream internship as well. But getting back into it, this second stage, I'll apply. This didn't come about till maybe 2 years when I started university. Around a 1.5 year mark, I was like realizing I have to get an internship. In order to go through to getting a job, to go to law school, at that point I wanted to go to law school, I was like, I have to get an internship, right? I should start shooting my shots at internship opportunities. And at that time, there were different people, different set of students that I saw were landing internships in DC. And at this point in the pandemic, I had a little bit of an advantage because in the non-belief state of I'm not someone that deserves to be in DC, I don't have the means, I don't have the finances. At the very least, at that time in 2021, the internships were virtual. So there was no excuse. I'm like, if I'm going to do an internship in Miami, if I'm going to do an internship in DC, it's going to be virtual, I might as well do the internship in DC. At this time, I was part of the Model United Nations team, and there were a lot of individuals that were very competent, very smart individuals that were landing these top internships in DC. And they were doing them remotely. And I was like, okay, this might be possible. I have Model UN experience. I have a high GPA. Let's see what happens. So you know what? I went to this stage. I'll apply. Put quotations. I'll apply. If I can put an emoji, I'll do this. Will I apply? I don't know. I'll apply came with you know what? I'm seeing other people do it. I don't think it's too far off of a possibility. If I'm applying to something, it means I want to obtain it. Let's see if I can get it. I did it on my own terms. I kind of fixed my resume on my own with the help of a friend. I somehow put a cover letter together that I'd never done before. And I applied. I applied to a Senate internship in DC, and I applied to a think tank internship in DC. And I wait. And I wait. And I wait. And I got rejected by both. I got rejected from the Senate internship, and I got rejected from the Partnership for Public Service. The Partnership for Public Service is a think tank that I applied for. That is why I mentioned it. No sponsorship. I got rejected. And no shade either. I got rejected from the think tank, and here's what ended up happening. I did not crack the code. I thought I had it all under my means. I thought I had it all together. And you know what? I was genuinely sad. And that goes to show you that you broke the self-belief. You're genuinely sad when you get rejected from an internship opportunity because you thought you had the chance. You actually believed in yourself. So you broke out of this. That's a win. When you start shooting the shots, you broke out of this. You're no longer in non-belief stage. You're in the I'm shooting my shot stage. But there's a difference. Before shooting your shot, you may not have cracked the code. You can shoot a free throw as many times as you want. But if you don't know where the basket is, if you don't know how to shoot it, if you don't know the strategy, you maybe haven't cracked the code. And let me tell you, I would much rather you be here than be here. This, you have to get rid of it. I'd rather you apply with no experience, no idea what you're doing, than to not have any self-belief. There are people with low GPAs that land internships. There are people with no internship experience that land congressional internships. There are people with completely different extracurriculars that are unrelated to political science, that are unrelated to different things, that land internship experiences. And I'm here to show you how you crack the code. Not step by step, but I will show you exactly how I was able to go through this process to this stage to this stage. So here's what happened. I got discouraged. I got sad. There was even a point that I remember I was on the couch with my sister. The pandemic was still underway. These were still virtual internships. And I was like, I was about to cry. I'll be honest with you. I was pretty sad. I told her, I'm going to graduate in a semester and a half. And I don't know if I'm going to land an internship. I don't know if I'm going to land a job. I don't know what's going to happen. I was genuinely sad. I was in a lot of pain at that moment. And it was after let me give it a try. You give yourself a chance. You get sad because you don't know the strategy. But what you don't realize is that's the first step. Very, very rarely does someone apply to an internship and get it in the first try. So the fact that you're even attempting, the fact that you're even putting up the shot is a win. And I want to change your perspective. If you're watching this and you hit the apply button, you're a winner and you're ready to move on to the next step. But guess what? Between 2 and 3, there's something that you don't want to do. If you want to do and get different results, you're going to have to do different actions. You ever heard of it? Insanity, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. So this will require you to change your strategy. And oftentimes, this is probably one of the hardest parts for a lot of people. Because you know what? They get rejected and they may fall back under this stage. I'm just not good enough. I'm just not good enough of a resume writer. I'm just not good of a cover letter. What you need to do here is the hardest part. You gotta separate your emotions from hitting the apply button, and you gotta separate it from the strategy behind applying. That's why I'm here, to give you the tips to break out of the emotional state of hitting the application button, getting rejected, break out of the I'm a rejection, I'm a failure, I'm a bad person, to just realizing that when you change your strategy, most of the time, you'll be fine. I changed my strategy. What did I do? I had 10 people look through my resume. I looked for every single person in the Model UN team that I was comfortable with looking at my resume. And I'm like, listen, I'm going to send you a PDF document. Bring me comments. A Google Docs. I had a Google Docs. There were 10 people in the Google Docs, and I got a bunch of different perspectives on how to update my resume. And you know that guy I mentioned at the beginning that was part of my Washington, D.C., FIU, Florida International University's Washington, D.C. office? I spoke to him. I had a conversation with him, and he helped me to even crack down more on my resume, and he helped me to write my cover letter. Fast forward, my resume is updated, even better than before, objectively speaking. At this point, my experiences were 2 internships in two internships in high school, so I didn't even have an internship in college. I had a podcast experience because I had done a podcast, leisure, just myself, a political podcast on my own. And I had the Model United Nations experience. So I had a strong extracurricular. I had 2 relevant, maybe non-relevant administrative experiences that were from high school, which is not ideal, but it was there. It was administrative tasks, and they were the totality of those 2 internships for like 3-4 months in total. One of them was 2 weeks, the other one was 4 months. So it wasn't a lot of experience, but I put it there. It doesn't matter the experience you have. It matters how you market it, and it matters how you showcase it to the people that you want to see on your resume. So I fixed my resume with that limited experience, but I fix it, and I draft my cover letter. I get it reviewed by this gentleman here. Mind you, this is all before AI. AI makes this a lot easier. You have no excuse to have the blank page resume or the blank page cover letter, because there you can even just sell it. Listen, I did this experience, give me bullet points. Cover letter, same thing. I have these experiences, give me 3 of my top experiences of my resume, and showcase to me what I can put in my cover letter, right? But here's the thing. Notice how you're not interning yet. But this is the part where you crack the code. You crack the code because you separate your emotions from the outcome, and you realize that when you ask for help, you can actually get the results you want. You're not a failure, not a rejection, and you still end up getting the internship on the hill without going to this bridge first. So this is cracking the code. I was able to land an internship. My first experience, the first internship that I applied for after this stage, I landed an interview. And I was so happy. I remember the perfect timing. I was speaking to a friend. I was Zoom calling with him. Remember, these are pandemic times. And I landed an interview. And I was so happy. I was so darn happy. I was ecstatic for that day. Amazing. Then, I prepared for the interview. I feel like I don't got to explain too much between how to prepare for the interview. Because if you crack the code on the resume and the cover letter, you're more than likely already have people helping you with this application, and they're going to help you with the interview. If you don't have somebody that's helping you to crack the code, first link in the description, that's where I come in to help you get that application in as soon as possible. The easiest, simplest strategy on the internet, resume, cover letter, hit submit, hit the different components of the application. Some of them are like, oh, what are your interests? There's a recommendation. I give you the easiest path to get there. Submit the application, start shooting your shots, and giving you the right strategy where you've cracked the code. Anyways, once you land an interview, you're more than likely going to go to the main source that helped you land the internship. And whether or not you're a student that has that resource or you just applied by yourself, which is still very commendable, you're still gonna find that person. Because you're a competent student. You're a person that's you're a self-motivator. You're self-driven. So you're gonna find somebody. You're gonna find a professor, you're gonna find a program, you're gonna find a DC office your university have, a liaison, an alumni to help you. You'll find somebody because you're a good student, you're dedicated, you have a good GPA, and even if you don't, you're actually doing better in school. So you're gonna find somebody, and you're gonna go back to them for the interview process. They're gonna help you with the interview process, and then you're gonna get through the interview. Once you get the interview, you're actually qualified for the position. You could actually obtain this position. Like, you're good. The only difference is they gotta go to the interview. So once that person helps you out, you land the internship. But wait, what's happening here? Just because you land the internship, there's a reason why this position, this fourth stage, isn't landed the internship. You know why? We just reached the hardest part. And I think this is the biggest pain point that individuals and students go through. It's not the application process. I dare say it's not the interview process. You're probably going to hit the application button. You're probably going to find somebody. You're going to find somebody to help you. And then for the interview process, you're going to find that same person to help you, and they're competent in that as well. And you're going to land the internship. You could use my program for it. You don't know any of this. I'm your liaison. I'm your professor. I'm your helper. So we'll get you the application in. No strings attached. Everything's good. But what are you going to do when this is not a pandemic? The internships are not virtual. And now you have to actually go to DC. My biggest pain point throughout this whole process wasn't when I was not a non-belief. This is apathy. You don't feel much here. You'll feel a lot of emotions here. I got rejected. I failed. You see, I should have stayed here. Why did I even apply? The winners crack the code. They land the internship, they find somebody to help them. They crack the code. You mean you're getting straight A's. You figure out a way to pass all those exams, to get all those good grades on assignments. You crack the code. Very last thing is the money, the finances. How are you going to get to DC? How am I going to even pay for housing? This is what nobody talks about. And I think I made a mistake. Because when I first started helping students, when I first started advertising all this stuff, when I first started showcasing to you guys the real strategy towards landing an internship, I focused on these 3 stages. Ignoring the very thing that's hindering students, minority students like you, with no connections to the government, that you did what most people don't have to do. People that they're close to the congressman since they were the kid. Their father is a friend of the coordinator, of the manager for the campaign of this congressional office, and therefore you get the internship very easily. And because of nepotism, because of trust funds, because of privileges that not many of us are afforded, you don't land the internship. They get the internship, and then they also are able very easily to find the funds towards living on the hill for a semester. But not everyone can do that. If you want me to explain to you a step-by-step guide on how to find housing, how to prepare living on your own for the first time, you're a commuter student, you go to the university across the street from your house, it's going to be the first time you live on your own, you're preparing to have this experience and independence, you're going to be living with people, you're going to have roommates, or perhaps just general personal finance as a student, I can help you out with that. What I definitely need you to understand is that this is the biggest burden. It's not those things. They're transitional things. You're a winner. You adapt. You figure it out. But what most people find it very difficult doing is finding the funds towards interning on the hill. towards actually being in DC. And I promise you, there are opportunities that will fund your full experience, but they're few and far between. The Congressional Hispanic Leadership Institute, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute, the Congressional Black Caucus Institute. There are many different programs that can fund your full experience. But if I want to make the biggest impact, what if I help you to self-fund your internship? Right now, in my experience, I've realized that this is the biggest burden. And I'll tell you a story, because when I landed this internship, that was my biggest pain point. I was discouraged because the internship, we actually didn't know if it was going to be virtual or in person, because the times were like in late 2021. So it was actually an interesting time where I applied. I thought it was virtual and then it could be in person, and I saw myself in DC, but I didn't know how I was going to get there. And that discouraged me. I was like, Brian, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. I don't come from the most means. My family doesn't have that much capital. I have to figure out a way. My school, fortunately enough, had a DC scholarship that they were offering students called the Hamilton Scholarship. I applied for that program after I landed my internship. That program was actually supposed to secure you an internship, and I already had landed an internship, and that gave me a scholarship. My university, I had a full ride scholarship, and because of that, I had also financial aid, and it gave me money back, so I had that to fund my internship. And then, all of this, we're going towards paid internships. Thankfully, the U.S. House of Representatives has a paid internship policy, because not many years ago, there was a organization called Pay Our Interns that advocated through Congress, through DC, towards you landing your internship and getting paid. So every office in different ways, shape, or forms should have a paid option. You should have either a stipend, they should give you something up front, help you pay for housing, or they just give you a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly salary towards funding your internship. But I will promise you that is not enough. Like, that is amazing. We're at the bare minimum trying to get that for you, but that's not enough. I landed those 2 scholarships. One of them was early on in my university, and I just had to take 4 classes virtually to figure it out. Mind you, I was graduating this semester. So to land this internship, I had to figure out how to take my final classes, and it was very discouraging because there was one class that I just couldn't move. I was very sad. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. But I was able to go do another semester. If you have to delay your gratification for an experience like this, I would definitely do it. Nonetheless, I delayed my graduation 1 semester and did the bare minimum to get a full-time school coursework so I can maintain my scholarship. So I had 3 virtual classes, and then the Hamilton program that I was part of with the university, I was able to actually take a course in person, so I fulfilled my 4 classes full-time experience so I can keep my college scholarship that would then give me a refund to fund the DC experience. DC is expensive. Whether you're going in the fall, the summer, DC is expensive. So if you have a school scholarship, you want to bank on that. You want to bank on the paid work experience. But there's still more money. Still more funds. I mean, you got to pay for the housing, you got to pay for food. You don't want to be eating cup noodles. You don't want to lose weight. Maybe you do want to lose weight, but that's not what this video is about. And then you also want to make sure you're enjoying the experience and you're having fun. And that's the point. But I was very discouraged. But thankfully, the one very specific scholarship, it completed the whole package. I was able to land a Café Bustelo scholarship. Café Bustelo, it's a coffee brand, and I applied through HispanicServingInstitutions.com, and there was one of those scholarships. I applied in July. I already had 2 other scholarships I was banking on, the paid internship I was banking on, and this scholarship was the very one that helped me towards interning on the Hill. I was able to pay for housing, I was able to pay for my food, I was able to pay for my flights. Most of us are not coming from close. I was able to pay for everything. I even had my sister's wedding at the time. It covered those expenses too, believe it or not. The whole DC experience on a conservative scale, it's gonna be maybe like $10,000. It's a lot of money. Me getting you from here to here, I've been doing you a disservice. I've been getting you to maybe $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. 60% is left. This valley of despair, I think, is the biggest pain point. Because you get to $4,000, but you're still missing $6,000 after you overcome what would be considered the hardest parts of your application process, which is actually landing the internship. And just imagine all the minority students that land the internship but don't have the funds to pay for it. And there are people in this country that are taking your opportunities because you don't have the funds. There's no one else on the internet specifically talking about how to land congressional internships and how to fund it. That's what I'm here to do. I'm creating the biggest database right now for scholarships in DC. And if you want first dibs on the thing that I'm creating, first link in the description. But I'm here to remind you, you're a minority student, you commute to school, you live far from DC, you're going to have to take a plane. All these expenses are intimidating. There is a strategy. I not only went from non-belief my freshman year, but I went to, I'm going to shoot the shots, and I got rejected. And I wasn't enough. My strategy wasn't enough. Not I wasn't enough, my strategy wasn't enough. So you know what I do? Change my strategy. I reach out to somebody, liaison. I'm your liaison. Your university has a liaison, they have a liaison. I'm your liaison here. You're watching my videos. You already trust me with your time. You got this far in the video. You can trust my plan that I'll be able to get you there. First link in the description. Otherwise, you just keep watching my videos. Maybe that'll help you out to at least hit the application button. This right here, it's a bit more complicated. This right here is the biggest pain point. This right here is the biggest hindrance towards people, minority students like you, towards landing internships in DC. Just think about the way politics has been, how divided our culture has been. And regardless of your politics, I'm not here to preach one side or the other. Imagine how much gatekeeping the government is doing by having these funds limited. But just like this opportunity, you're like, I'm going to apply, I'm going to figure it out. There are a lot of scholarships that go under the radar that you could apply to fund your DC experience. But how am I going to do it? What is the right timing? Where it is that I'm going to find these scholarships? What if I already landed the internship? Trust me, I'm building the biggest strategy towards that. Alright? I want you to land an internship. I want you to get to this fourth stage. But I had to break down exactly step-by-step guide as to what people go through. This is the initial hurdle. I already solved this problem for you. Once you're ready to start believing in yourself and to hit the apply button, that's on you. I can't change that for you. I can make videos trying to convince you, but ultimately you have to decide. But once you decide, hey Brian, I want to hit the apply button, I already cracked the code for you. Just hit the first link in the description. That's very simple. You land the internship. This is the biggest obstacle. And that's where the real value comes in for me. How many people don't even crack the code? They don't reach out for help. I'm here to solve that. This is the bigger hindrance, and I'm here to solve that as well. Because I want more minority students towards landing these internships. We need more diverse views in Congress. We need more policymakers that believe in themselves and can actually make a difference. A lot of you were raised in the US. This is your country, no different than any other American that lands these internships. And maybe you don't have the connections, you don't have the nepotism that some students have, but you have the grit, you have the opportunity, and I'll help you get the resources so you can complete the internship. Otherwise, stay tuned for the rest of the video for other videos that I'll explain how to do your resume, how to do your cover letter, and more specifically on how you get these scholarships. Thank you for watching. Take care.